Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RE Master Talks with Amit Vats, a series of candid interviews with industry stalwarts in RE and clean energy. Today, we have with us Mr. Karim, founder and executive director of Orisun Invest, a project origination platform in renewable energy launched in 2020, which has which has closed so far 247 megawatts in 6 different countries with more than 1 gigawatt under mandate with leading IPP and investors. Karim has over 17 years of experience in the energy sector and is also acting as Director Transaction Advisor in Dii Desert Energy, a leading think tank in the MENA region advocating for an acceleration of the energy transition. He also represents at the IRENA Coalition for Action, an international institutional network supporting the global energy transition. A very warm welcome to Arimas Talks, Karim.
Thank you very much, Amit, for inviting me, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Pleasure. Karim, could you give us a small little introduction of Orisun Invest?
Sure, Amit. So, well, Orisun Invest, as you mentioned, we are an project origination platform. What we do is basically we source projects for our investors, and so we work with selected investors, and among them we have two strategic partners. One is Total Eren, and another one is Technique Solar for medium-sized projects in India. But we do work with few investors from time to time, opportunistically. So what we do is basically we will look for projects mostly in Asia, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, a bit of Europe and Africa also. So we screen them, and if we think that the ingredients are there, either for doing some co-development, so we do co-development also, or acquisition, either at ready-to-build stage or when it's commissioned, so when it's in operation. Then we introduce these projects to our investors, and then we follow them, both parties actually. So we work with both parties to make sure that first the term sheet is signed, and then after that, either the share purchase agreement or the joint development agreement is signed. So we cover mostly industrial projects above, I would say, 20 megawatt plus, up to 50, 100, etc. As you know, the size of the transactions is increasing drastically actually now with the acceleration of renewable energy. So we do have even transaction up to 800 megawatt now.
Great. So I see that India is a preferred location these days, Karim. So how are projects typically financed in India? And do you see that going further, the tariffs will continue to decrease further?
Okay, so well, for the financing, as you know, so there are two types of financing. You have the equity part and you have the debt part. On the debt part, these are typically project finance schemes. So you do have a very active non-recourse financing environment in India with local banks and even with international banks. So this works very well as long as the ingredients for the project are there. So which is, to be fair, mostly the case today, given I would say the relative maturity of the market. Then on the equity side, mostly you have big platforms or local developers which are providing the equity, and then at a point in time they may flip the asset, and that's why also we believe that this M&A market in India will continue actually to grow over the decade. Now, regarding I would say the overall business model, how it works. So today, the prices obviously went down a lot in the past years for different reasons, competition, improvement of technology, improvement of the framework and everything. But these days, actually, it's a bit difficult, right? Because you have the tax on the module imports, and you have also the impact of raw materials, the increase of the cost, etc. And therefore, it has recently went up. and it's not very clear when, obviously I cannot predict anything here, but it may continue a little bit longer. Um, it's not necessarily a bad thing because the race to the bottom is a bit complicated for everyone, right? Because the margins are getting thinner and thinner, and that's why people, some industrials, they start to diversifying their activities, into green hydrogen, electrical vehicles. Also, you have the batteries, the new framework with battery and plus solar, which is providing, secure electricity in the grid, which is really an interesting concept. So that's and on the top of that, obviously, this tax import is also there to develop the industry, and you have announcements of really big new capacities actually in India, not only in the module but also in cells. So Wari already is building a cell manufacturing facility, but plus you have also ideas of going into the silicon and wafer, etc., which is also announced by Wari. So it's really good actually for India to have, you may not be able to provide 100% of the needs, but being able to relocate part of the industry and develop to support internal growth. It's a really good strategy that many countries actually are looking at, but I believe India is in advance actually in this kind of ideas.
Right. With the ambitious targets which are coming up in India, how do you see what are the challenges to get project finance currently, and more generally the challenges you see in the market?
Yeah, I mean, well, there are a few of them. So we've been screening a lot of projects in the past 2 years, and we did some acquisition, and we're doing some acquisition these days. So we've been very selective in the projects. There was a big actually acquisition phase in the past, I would say 24 months. So it's very clear actually what we've seen. So land. You know, land is a big issue. We need to make sure that, all the projects have their land secured. It's even actually in some project documents that you cannot have any kind of litigation on the land, etc. It should cover the whole area. If it's not like that, you may be even in default actually as per the PP and so on. And definitely it's going to be very difficult to sell your asset. So land is a big issue, and the investor cannot buy, like, oh, okay, there's a piece of land which is missing, let's buy it, etc. It's very difficult for investors to become, land owners basically, and because that's not their business model, right? So land is obviously a very big issue. You need to have, from agricultural to industrial land and so on. So you need to have some kind of approvals, even for international investors. You may have very specific approval. We had the case in UP, for example, where actually an international investor had to get the approval just to own the SPV, and they cannot invest in case the land is agricultural. So, all these topics are crucial. And we see that some of the projects still are facing this kind of issues. Then obviously you have grid. I mean, this is a major issue, right? The grid, solar and wind, they need to have a broader grid, a grid as broad as possible, right? And even between state and so on. So you do have some lines which are congested, and that's something that has to be urgently addressed. I guess you do have, construction of line these days, but that's really crucial for the country to expand massively renewable energy. Then I would say, another point is the so financing. You do have equity available and financing, but have in mind that, with the inflation, going up in Europe, and maybe also interest rate going up, etc. So the returns which may, be expected would maybe increase, right? And that's an issue because, India is the land where the price has to be as competitive as possible, because, you need to fight, you need to transition from coal to renewable and massively, right? So you do have these challenges, and seeing the returns and, business model being impacted by the overall, I would say, international crisis somehow. This the especially the interest rate clearly are raising. So that at least addresses the how to restructure a bit the business model. So you do have the platform going, for example, for the ones who can, going to the bond market and getting some kind of new structure where bullet repayment and so on to free some more space to get an increase somehow of the return and therefore lower the electricity prices. But that's not everyone, and it's still difficult. And plus, you have the carbon credit also mechanism. So counting on that, it's obviously there will be some kind of upside in the future, but for investors, because the golden standard is now passed, so you need to register to new schemes which are still unsure. So how to address all that, for the investors or for the developers, you need to have the right recipe. And to be fair, given the market and the high professionalism and innovation which we see in India, frankly, all the challenges as just a bump in the road that the country, I'm sure, will be able to address properly.
So Karim, you've listed a lot of challenges, what we face in India, right? From land acquisition to grid parity to a lot of things. So one, I understand that you would want a single window interface whereby all these things are addressed at one go, right? But still, do you still see India as an attractive market for international investors?
Look, you see, international investors, they are looking also at the macroeconomic environment and I would say the key drivers, right, of the markets. And there is, I mean, that's my view, and many investors, they share this view also, that there is no way that the energy transition will just stop or slow down or whatever in India. I mean, the whole country has completely understood and embraced the energy transition. You can see that in EV, electrical vehicle. It's being delayed for sure, but it's coming. You can see also agreements signed, recently between Total and Adani in developing green hydrogen. You can see that solar, it's now is lower than solar plus battery is close to be lower or lower than coal. So there's no point to just build coal. So why we say that? It's just because the growth, the economic growth and the needs of India are actually are very tremendous, and therefore it's very difficult for for the solar energy, wind, and even electrification, which has yet to start, right? To keep pace of this growth. So I see that, although today it's a bit difficult for international investors because there's a rupee, there's a currency challenge. You do have, specific investors, but frankly, there was a first wave in 2000, between 2010 and 2014, I would say, for the first structuring of the market. Now this is a second wave where you have another wave of concentration, diversification of business model and so on. And each time you see new investors coming, very strong, very big, which are attracted by the size of the market and by the strong, trajectory. It's very clear, actually, the trajectory. So you do have this attractivity, and plus, if I may add something, is that last year there was during the G7 preparation of the G7, actually, there was an announcement that so not only the climate fund has issued new billions to fight against coal, which India definitely can benefit from. But also there is some kind of commitment, and India was part actually of this meeting to raise the 100 billion to 2025 to address climate change and etc. And I believe that because India also is a international investor friendly country, that you can imagine a lot of collaboration, even in R&D, even outside of purely solar and wind. But you see, we mentioned that EV charging, but also in building. The city in India, they are growing fast and they are absorbing a lot of energy. And so I can see that it's a market which should actually be extremely attractive for different investors because of the size and the needs, and plus the environment where, well, for now, I mean, we're working in India and we love working with industrial. I think it's great. Yeah.
Great, great, great. So Karim, what are your next steps in the country then, in India?
Okay, so so today we're part of a few business networks, and I will start with the Cleantech Business Club, which I here thank a lot. First of all, because we meet each other through this business club, so it's very good. Plus we're part of the Dii Desert Energy, as I mentioned, and we're also part of the Coalition for Action from the IRENA. And so we would like to, expand our network and have a specific Indian network, actually, capitalizing on that to be able to grow our origination strategy. And, ideally, as we believe that the Indian market would be one of the most dynamic M&A markets actually in this decade, certainly will go big. Will go big in India. And today I mean, that's what we're doing. We are today already. We have we're under due diligence of 160 megawatt there, and hopefully this deal will close by the end of the year because both parties are willing to close the transaction. We're looking at 800 megawatt also, and that's just the start. So for us, we will be welcoming, by the way, different partners who are willing to join also our origination network. And we will launch very soon a digital platform. So a digital platform where project developers and investors, they will be able to log. So we don't believe that you can close a transaction online. That's a no way. But actually what we would like is to facilitate the communication between project owners and project developers and reduce the cost and the time of the transaction. I believe India is the ideal market for that, and we're receiving very positive response to this idea. We'll be launching that in September, and so we'll definitely and we have this meeting together, right, in September, and we'll be able to, I would say, describe and present this platform and plus our strategy, and continue to grow in the country.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karim. And thank you for being part of our Master Talks. In fact, you've just stated, so I'll also share with the world that we have Renewable Energy India Expo starting from 28th to 30th of September in Delhi in Greater Noida. And this is one of the most influential energy expos across the globe in Asia, basically. And you'll have all the big companies representing over there, exhibiting their products and services. We'll have knowledge sessions over there, and we'll have Karim over there who will be representing the finance forum along with another his industry colleagues. So anybody who's interested in learning more about the financial part of RE in clean energy is more than welcome to join the forums at REI from 20th to 30th of September. Thank you so much, Karim. Look forward to having you again and formally and physically meeting you at REI.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure. Such a
Okay.
pleasure. Thank you so
Thank you. Ciao.
much.